The Federal Emergency Management Agency has announced some changes to the eligibility criteria for the COVID Funeral Assistance Fund that opened earlier this year. The announcement came at the end of June 2021 after some families expressed frustration at trying to document the cause of death to meet the relief fund's standard. We're going to review the eligibility criteria to be eligible for the COVID Funeral Assistance Fund in just a second, but let's remind ourselves what we're talking about. It was FEMA that announced it was going to provide financial assistance for COVID-19 related funeral expenses incurred after January 20th, 2020. The authority for payments to individuals came from some of the COVID relief laws that were signed in the last year. FEMA began accepting applications for funeral assistance on Monday, April 12th through a dedicated call center. And that process for applying for the relief still is by that dedicated call center. Applicants may receive assistance for the funeral expenses of multiple deceased individuals. And assistance is limited to about $9,000 per funeral. And if there is a family applying for multiple claims, that tops out at $35,500 per application. And that is per state, territory, or the District of Columbia. Here is the eligibility criteria for the COVID Funeral Assistance Fund. The death must have occurred in the United States, including the territories and District of Columbia. The applicant must be a U.S. citizen, non-citizen national, or qualified alien who incurred funeral expenses after January 20th, 2020. There is no requirement that the deceased person meet that same citizenship standard. Also, part of the eligibility criteria, the cause of death was attributed to COVID, and this is what has changed. The death that occurred after May 16th, 2020 should have a death certificate that attributes the cause of death to COVID-19. But there was recognition that deaths that occurred earlier in the pandemic may not be recorded the same way. So for deaths that occurred between January 20th and May 16th, applicants can submit a statement or a letter from the death certificate certifying official, could be a medical examiner or a coroner, that attributes the death to COVID-19 instead of having it explicitly listed on the death certificate. This policy change should allow family members of those who died from COVID early in the pandemic to submit for those reimbursements, even if the death certificate itself does not identify the illness as the cause of death. Now, the COVID Relief Fund is reimbursement model, like we said, and there are many payments that can be reimbursed. Some of the things like a casket or urn or a burial plot, also maybe having an officiant at a funeral, and some funeral home equipment or staff. How to apply? Like we said, there is an assistance line. The number is listed on the screen. It is also in the description below. If you need more information on the Funeral Assistance Fund, we link to the FEMA announcement and also the frequently asked questions also in the description below.